All right, here we go. All right, everybody, welcome to the D-Feedback presentation here. I have my dear friend Devin Sheets in the room. We have a couple of people in the room. We have Sophie and Melan. We are going to kind of get started here. And as I've kind of mentioned earlier, this is a very casual presentation. We are here just to talk about D-Feedback, try to demystify this a little bit for people out there that are wondering what the heck this is and why do I need it? Things like that. So, I'm going to start this thing off. I'm going to put it right in Devin's lap. I would love for him to kind of tell the story of what D-Feedback is, and then also this amazing journey that he has shared with me in terms of developing this thing. We desperately need people like Devin in the live sound business, people that are really dedicated and motivated to do things like this. So with that, Devin, I am going to turn it over to you, buddy, and take it away. Tell us the story.
Great. Well, thanks. Hello, everyone. I'm Devin Sheets with Alpha Labs, creator of DeFeedback. And the short story is that DeFeedback is the world's first AI-based zero latency algorithm that can eliminate room reverb and some background noise. And the biggest thing about that is that it helps to prevent feedback from occurring in the live microphones. So there's been lots of other attempts. Obviously, probably all of you are familiar with various other feedback fighting tools. Some of them work better than others. Some of them work pretty well, but maybe they introduce high latency or they have all these artifacts. They color the sound in all these certain ways and stuff. So it's always a struggle to figure out like what combination of different tools can I use to try to figure out how to get more gain before feedback and not just like destroy the sound. And so defeedback is an attempt to use AI to sort of just do it and to leave the vocal sound intact. And it has all sorts of other benefits along the way. And again, zero latency. So that's like our big claim is that like we're doing this at zero latency. So zero latency can be confusing a little bit because the algorithm is zero latency, but the hardware you run it on always introduces some latency. So for example, if you have like a Waves Live box and you're running plugins, we talk about plugins that have zero latency. What that means is that when you don't have the plugin inserted, your hardware has a certain I/O time, like you have to get in and out of it, and there's some latency there, whatever that is. But then you insert a plugin and it may add 5 milliseconds or 10 milliseconds of additional latency. Defeedback doesn't add any additional latency. However, what it does do is it really taxes the CPU. It's very computationally intense. And so what we did as a company was we released it as a plugin, but if you don't have hardware that is capable of running it's probably the highest CPU intensity audio plugin that exists right now. There might be some that are bigger, I don't know, but um, it's the case that if you don't have hardware, you don't want to deal with having to set up hardware to run a super high intensity plugin. We have these options that are rather economical that we've kind of pre-configured on our website, which is dfeedback.ai. They're just these little headless computers, and there's a Focusrite interface involved, and we've kind of vetted that whole package, and we know that it runs it very reliably at reasonably low latency. It's 5 milliseconds round trip. That's pretty good for most applications. Some people might need it lower, but yeah, that's like what defeedback is. It's an audio plugin right now, and in the future, it may become other things. Like it may become an embedded hardware option, like an FPGA solution. If you're not familiar with that, it's like a hard-coded chip that just runs the program rather than a CPU, which is like a generalized computing chip that can kind of do anything. We'd reduce it down to like a hard-coded chip that all it does is run defeedback. It would do it super fast. We'd be talking like less than 1 millisecond of latency for like super high channel count and all this stuff. But that's maybe long down the road. So right now it's just an audio plugin. You can go download it. You can try it on just whatever computer. It works on Mac, works on Windows in trial mode. Um, See how it sounds, and then like if you think this is a good idea, I want this, but I want it to be low latency with high reliability. We have those options on the website. Um, anyway, so that's like what it is. The real quick backstory. of how it came to be. It's a very, very complicated, goofy story, but um, I'm a live sound engineer myself, so that's I grew up. The family business is based here in Oregon, in the United States, and it's a regional sound company. So we do sound for concerts and events in our area and permanent installations. My father started the business in his mom's garage and grew it from just nothing into a pretty sizable regional audio company. You know, we had at one point in the 1990s, I tell people if you're trying to scale it, we had like 30 full-time employees, and I believe the largest KF 850 rig, the EAW KF 850 rig west of the Mississippi for a time. So it was a decent company, and that's like the environment I grew up in. And when we started doing really high-end corporate work and permanent installations in a lot of like Catholic churches where you have, high reverberation, the priests want to wear these lavs out in front of the speakers and it's really hard to get gain. Or you'll do like a corporate event where, you'll have some artist or like an athlete and they'll come do a speech or something, and you're in some ballroom or something, and they want to wear a lav or whatever, and they're not very good about maybe holding a microphone or whatever it is. Game before feedback was just something that I up until even like 2019, I just remember thinking it's amazing we have all this technology. Everything's amazing. All the things are amazing. Incredible consoles, speakers, DSP of all kinds, and yet feedback, like the basic problem of having microphones and speakers in the same room, we haven't just solved this problem. This is still a thing. And I thought that was weird. And my gut told me somehow AI was going to solve this problem. I didn't know anything about AI. I don't have a background in coding. I don't have a background in computers of any kind. Um, I thought for sure the big companies were going to solve this any minute now. Any minute, they're going to just come out and this will be a thing of the past. And every year that went by, I just thought it's so interesting this is not happening. So I decided to start putting feelers out on the internet and just see if anybody out there who knew anything about AI. It was like right around Chat GPT was being introduced and I was playing around with it and I was like, this is cool. AI was starting to become kind of all the rage. And I put these feelers out on the internet. Some people I paid some money toward and nothing worked out. Yeah, and I was about ready to kind of abandon the project, but I ended up finding some coders that happen to be very, very high level AI coders. They're not even in the audio space at all. They're doing other stuff. They're doing, advanced AI medical imagery for doctors that can predict cancers better than humans can. They're doing uh, military grade radar systems and stuff like this. This is crazy tech. And I intrigued them with the idea of using AI to solve this problem in the audio space that just hasn't been solved. Like there's sort of Band-Aid style solutions, but nothing just solves it. And they thought that was really cool. And so I gathered together a chunk of cash, as much as I possibly could, and went way into debt. Uh, got my father involved to try to, help me help me cover the expenses of paying the coders for as long as I possibly could to see if we could get something that would work. Um, and yeah, I mean, we tried a lot of things that didn't work, but I just felt like there's something here that these coders are doing that's going to work. I just know it. Um, and so we pushed through, and we had a big breakthrough. And D-feedback version 1 is the result of that breakthrough. And we just looked at it and said, okay, we've got something we can sell. Um, let's just put it out there and see if anyone's interested in this, because I'm out of money. And so we just need to start selling so that we don't go away. Um, I had no idea that it would receive the response that it has. I mean, I mean, I still every day I wake up and I go, this is like a dream or something. I can't believe that this is getting the attention of someone like Robert Scovill, for example. Um, it's still blowing my mind, and um, so yeah, all I can say is that I just really hope that as many as many people around the world as possible can try this. I don't want to end up in a situation where like only super high-end users can have access to it, or someone gobbles up an exclusive deal over it, or it's so expensive that like, no one can afford it. I really want as many people to be able to try it. And if they want to use it successfully, they can start using it in their situations. So anyway, that's kind of the short story.
Well, I'll jump in here and add this perspective to this, because I've obviously I've worked for manufacturers and continue to work for manufacturers, as well as I've been a mixer, for 45, oh my gosh, I'm going to do the math here, 45 years of my life. So I try to share these things with Devin sometimes, and to me, it's amazing how many manufacturers there are in live sound in this world that truly do not get the sensitivity and the sensibilities of the challenge that feedback is for live performance. Like,
Hmm.
they understand what it is, et cetera. And I think there's some people in this room that would concur with me on this. The minute you sit behind that console and you run into a situation where the entire quality of the show is based solely on your ability to get a vocal working in terms of game before feedback and have it sound like something still. Until you've experienced that, you really don't understand what a monster feedback is to our shows. Now, let alone, I mean, we've done I'll say journeyman's work over the years of creating PAs with better pattern control, microphones with better pattern control. What is this all in an effort to do to help us with feedback? I mean, we've invented third octave equalizers, parametric equalizers, with the idea of we'll be able to better manage and take care of feedback. The other piece of that is in play though is noise control, meaning I don't care what singer steps up to a microphone. If they do that on a stage with live instrumentation, there is a ratio of signal, meaning a voice, to noise, meaning the background noise in that microphone. I mean, I've said this a million times to people, especially for laymen's that don't really know anything about audio, and I've done this in the past. Microphones are dumb. They don't know they're only supposed to pick up a person's voice. It picks up everything that it can hear, no different than your ear does. Your ear doesn't know how to discern those things. So, I think in the back of my mind, and this is ages ago, I always felt once I started to understand what AI was, I remember thinking, wow, okay, so AI is really good at trend management and trend analysis. Well, if we can turn audio, some of these pieces of audio into trend data, we might have a chance here. Because I've been asked that question many times, kind of given my profile in the industry. How do you think AI is going to impact audio? How do you think AI is going to impact audio? So this is a great example of thinking where this might actually do it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say it actually does do it. I've experienced it already. So it's a pretty cool thing to see it and hear it. I mean, I've been out using it in the field now. I've had the luxury, and I will state it as the luxury of going in and working at Sphere. And if any of you guys know about what's happening at Sphere in terms of how the PA works, where the PA is positioned in terms of vocals, et cetera, live microphones, et cetera, you understand what an absolute challenge this will be and is. And I'll just say I am absolutely thanking my lucky stars that this has come along when it did. Now, granted, what you're going to see today and what we're talk about today is V1 of this, as Devin alluded to. He's done this, and he did it with the expressed goal of removing reverb from lavalier mics and podium mics or lectern mics, in churches. Wasn't necessarily designed exclusively for handheld vocals, et cetera. But once I got my hands on it and tried it, I was just absolutely stunned at how great it worked. So I mean, it's one of those things where you realize as a mixer very quickly, man, if I could just get another 3 dB, 6 dB on this vocal without it feeding back, this show would be singing. So we're working in those kind of resolutions, and to have something like this where you instantly get that and more, it's like, well, gosh, who wouldn't use this? Who wouldn't use this? As I've said to Devin before, anytime there's a microphone and a speaker in the same room, this deserves a seat at the table. So, so the outlook is pretty bright for it. All right. So I don't know, where do you want to go from there, Devin? Maybe we can open up for some questions, kind of generate some conversation here. But I know it all seems very mysterious and abstract right now. I'm going to try to give you some real world looks at it here. But
Let me say one more thing about it, and then
yeah,
I'd love to hear people's reaction to it. The thing about it is that a lot of other EQ methods or gating methods or whatever it may be, whatever the method is to try to fight feedback, um, they are attempting to mimic what we think of as what should be done to fight feedback. Like when
that's
you
great.
in your head, when you think, okay, I have a vocal signal and I have some part of it that's not supposed to be there. Well, we just need to like remove that part of it. We need to decipher between the vocal and whatever else is going on. And every other method is like a workaround kind of, it's like a backdoor way to try to achieve something that kind of sounds like that effect, but it really in principle is not actually doing that. For example, you might say, well, like I don't know, I'm just not like I'm going to pick on like a 5045. It's Neve 5045 is an amazing tool, but people might talk about it as being able to tell the difference between the vocal and the reverb or the noise or something. That's like an expression. It's a way of speaking about what it does, but it's not actually telling the difference. It's using traditional, actually quite simple methods, thresholds, EQ weightings, gates, and it does something that approximates what you think of as deciphering the difference between the vocals, but AI is actually deciphering the difference, just like you would. Like it's actually telling the difference between the vocal and the reverb, and it can do the separation, or the reverb and the noise, or the echo and the what you can parse it all out into its constituent parts, and then decide which weights you want to give. You can just eliminate one of them completely. Um,
Devin, maybe what you should do is maybe take a stab at explaining how you how defeedback learns these things. Like, how does it learn what it needs to get rid of and what it needs to get through, right? Because
yeah,
that's an
sure.
important piece of it, right? It has to actually learn these components of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about the basics of how neural networks work. You have machine learning. Like I give people the analogy, like you know, um, machine learning could maybe, I don't know, get to the point where, you could recognize an echo, for example. You could basically show a pattern recognition algorithm enough examples of echo that it could build some basic rules around, well, what is echo, And it could get to the point where it could at least pinpoint and maybe even get rid of, some amount of echo. Um, but a lot of times you may have to give it the exact echo, like you'd have to give it an example of what it needs to get rid of. Okay, so you'd have to like learn the room, the situation. And then if things were to deviate too much from that, then it might get off and you'd have to give it another go at actually learning the situation, right? And then get it back on track and stuff like this. Um, you get to the point where you have a neural network. A neural network is a level of pattern recognition that is complex enough that what it can start to do is it can start to take into account some amount of drift away from the target. So maybe the nature of the echo changes a little bit, or maybe the echo gets kind of like um, mixed together with a bit of room reverb itself. And it's not like it's kind of sort of an echo, but it's not super clean in the sort of definitional sense. It could probably still learn to deal with that. And again, probably as long as you gave it some tolerances and some like a learn period or something like this. Um, but a deep neural net, which is what you think of when you interact with ChatGPT, for example, that's a deep neural net. You're talking about a level of complication, and you're talking about a level of sophistication that starts to mimic what just the human brain itself does. It's operating at such a complex level that it can do things that feel a little bit human-like, or even better than what a human could do. And in this sense, you're dealing with an AI that can listen to the incoming sound from a microphone, and it can tell the difference between a vocal and an echo in any situation with any vocal in any room ever, even if it's highly, highly mixed with like other background sounds. And the basic rule is if you can do it, it can do it. And then the only question is, well, okay, fine. So now that we've recognized the echo or whatever, in this case, right, we're targeting, things like room reverb itself. Like you hear room reverb or you hear background noise or you hear feedback. You know, if you're mixing front of house or monitors, and how do you tell the difference between a low hum that's, is that feedback or is that just like a hang from, like a tom microphone, like the floor tom or something? Or is it just like a low
which
part of the
happens all
vocal?
the time, by the way.
Yeah. But see, your brain is able to recognize these things. Uh, and the AI can recognize these same things. And so you have to get to the point where you've constructed an AI model that's complex enough that has as many neural net layers. You have to expose it to a very large amount of training data. And then once you do that, then it can recognize what's what. Then the only question is, what method are we going to use to actually perform the operation of, in this case, getting rid of something? We want to get rid of the feedback. We want to get rid of the room reverb. How are we going to do it? Are we going to use EQ? Are we going to use a gating system? Like, what are we going to do? That's where, in our opinion, the best approach is to use what's called an impulse response based approach. And if you're not familiar with impulse response, it's basically like you can take a snapshot of how something sounds in time. So, if an EQ is, this is a terrible way to explain it, but it works. If an EQ is a snapshot of how things are in terms of their frequency balance, right? An IR is how things are in terms of their frequency balance over some amount of time. And so you could say we're going to take a snapshot at any moment in time of what we think the audio signature of a room is. Because remember, the AI has listened to the vocal and the room intermixed in the same microphone signal. There's some part vocal, there's some part room. It decides it thinks this is the room part. And then it builds an IR in real time that it thinks matches that super, super, super closely. And then all it does is it flips it out of polarity and it combines it with the vocal signal, and you just get a cancellation effect. It cancels out the room reverb in real time. And as long as it constantly updates that IR, it's constantly listening to the microphone sound, and it's constantly guessing what should that IR be? What should it contain? And as long as it's doing it accurately enough, quick enough, and flipping it out of polarity and kind of zipping it together with the vocal signal, you're getting rid of that room reverb. And you can target anything you want. We've trained it to target room reverb, some background noise. The biggest thing is, of course, feedback itself. Feedback is a tricky one because unlike room reverb, where it's happening, the room reverb is happening. We want it to eliminate feedback even before it happens. We don't want to wait till it happens and then squash it. So it's like this very, very hard problem to the AI is just okay, so you know how it is like just like you're mixing sound and you can listen for I can tell that mic is just on the edge. And if I were to go a couple more dB, I can tell it's going to feed back. I can tell I don't have any more gas left. Well, how do you know that? It's just you're picking up on these microscopic audio cues in the whole balance of the whole signal of everything you're listening to. But something about it, given your past experience of your, 20,000 hours of audio mixing experience, you can tell that that mic is right on the edge. All we did was train an AI to make that same call. And so it's going to do what it needs to do to prevent the feedback from happening if you were to push the mic further. And it does it through an IR based method, which does not taint the sound of the vocal like traditional methods like EQ or other, gating systems that
Yeah,
have thresholds.
that's
So
where I was going to go with this, David, and just make the comment. To me, that's the most striking difference between this and what you're doing compared to all other things previous to this, right? Which were, I love the analogy you made where it was like, we've created devices to do basically what the human would do for it, you know, and almost all of them revolve, with the exception of 5045, revolve around equalization, right? Auto
yeah,
EQs, auto notch filters, et cetera. And all of those dramatically impact the sound of the source. That's what was so refreshing about using this. Is like, oh my gosh, this is just making the source come through clearer now. It's not changing the tonality of it at all, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, so Robert, you've got some graphics that you've worked up to kind of show that in
Yeah.
particular. I wonder
Yeah.
if
I
we should
think
get any
let's,
questions before we hop into that, though. Like
I
just
think we
quickly.
should. Yeah.
A
So
lot's been said.
Madeline and Sophie, you got any questions or you need any clarification on anything before we get into these kind of pictures to show you this in action?
Yeah, the big one that I'm curious about is we've kind of been talking about it mostly from a standpoint of utilizing it in conjunction with like a console or where there's a manned mixer. Um,
Mhm.
is there any possibility of integrating it with a system like QSys for like corporate event centers that have breakout rooms that the client doesn't necessarily want to pay for a tech all the time, but you've got, canned speakers in the ceiling all over the room, and it just kind of creates an ideal environment for feedback to start to happen. So I could see that being super useful in a scenario like that.
100%. Yeah. Go, Devin. You
Yes.
speak to it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, for me doing the installations that I do in churches, for example, a lot of those churches, they don't even have sound people on staff. They're not like there's not someone who's managing the sound. They might have like a volunteer that can go over and push a button on a wall to like preset the thing for a funeral or a wedding or something like this, or Sunday mass or whatever. But it pretty much just needs to sit there and just, run 24/7 unattended. Um, so that is something that we designed it to do, and especially with the as I mentioned, the little computers we have on the website, those are designed to pretty much stand alone and run 24/7, like indefinitely. I've got many of them in these church installs. They're stuffed away in racks, and no one even accesses the racks, and they just sit there and you know, and there's no parameters. It's not like you have to set like thresholds and tweak it in or anything. It's just you turn it on and it just works. And
Yeah. To me, that's the like when I had that realization after using it of the gold of there, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to chase a threshold now. Like if I've got these two things that are canceling, it doesn't matter what level the vocal is. It knows to let it through regardless of what level. There's no threshold, no attack release time, none of that stuff. You just set the amount of process and put it away. And let me tell you, that is really liberating as a mix engineer, especially on shows. I mean, the first time I actually used it in the field was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions, where I'm going to have, over the course of the night, 12 different vocalists through the same 50-45. So it's just constantly on, threshold, depth, attack, release. You're just trying to get it dialed in the first two sentences of the song. So this took that completely away. It was just like, if it's on, it's working. Go to work. Mix the show, please.
I'm not paying Robert to say any of this. Just just like to put that out there.
It's not that I didn't ask him; he just refused. Okay, so that's how it worked. No, no, I did. I didn't ask him. So, yeah, no,
Robert
I
Robert
mean, I'm really
discovered it.
excited about this. So,
Yeah, I'm just very, very happy that people like Robert have discovered it and are just like seems genuinely excited about it. This is just amazing. I'm glad so this is very cool to
I
see.
mean, as I've said, Devin, give me three or six or more dB of gain before feedback on my vocal. That'll be the most exciting development I've ever seen in my career, probably. So, all right, let's get into this. We'll kind of get this in some visuals here, so you can kind of follow along what's going on. Let me move this screen over here, and hopefully this will drive a little more conversation. Oops, I got to do this. All right. So some of the first testing I did with it was really around, Devin's claim about, the IR, the reverb cancellation. That part was really intriguing to me. I thought, well, how are they doing that? How is he doing that? So I set up a test in my place. I got a big space out here with PA systems and consoles and all kinds of other stuff out here. So this was kind of the signal flow of what you're going to see here. And like I said, this was the IR cancellation test. So to understand this, we have a microphone going into two channels, right? One channel has the D feedback on it. The other channel does not. And that that input strip that does not feeds into a reverb. And now when I say a reverb, I went extreme on this. I went 10, 12 seconds of reverb time. I mean, a very messy, splashy, big reverb. I mean, as big as anything you're probably going to run into in the field. Brought that into an input strip and made it where I could send that input strip's direct output directly to a PA system, but also record it as well. So we would end up with two recordings, the mic with the D feedback and then the mic that is generating the reverb. You follow me there? Everybody good with that? So when I say check in this room, and this was not a pair of near field speakers, this was a PA system, and this reverb was loud. I'm telling you, it was louder than you'd probably ever experience in the real world. So all of that was being recorded. Now, obviously, any sound that was coming from the PA was going to be recorded into this microphone as well, as you're going to see. So if we go to the look here, so I'll kind of just map this out for you. So this big spike of blue you see here, that is me saying check into the microphone. We have the D reverb disengaged here. This is the two channels of the stereo reverb, right? And you can see this is a completely recursive environment. As I say check, the reverb comes out of the speakers and it starts to feed back. And let me tell you, by the time you get out to this point here, this feedback was just completely runaway. I mean, I got it to the point where I couldn't even click my lips together without this starting to feed back. I mean, it was as wild of an environment as you ever saw. And at that point, I engaged the D feedback. As you can see here, that's the green line. And take a look at what happens here, right? You see the reverb tail start to drift away, meaning the recursion has gone away now. And now you see me say check one more time here, and notice there is no reverb in that microphone signal whatsoever. It has completely canceled it out. So this would just be the cleanest vocal you've ever listened to in terms of reverb and feedback for that matter. Like I said, it knocked out the feedback back there. It was really breathtaking to hear it happen, right? So again, no D reverb, let me try it again. No D reverb on it here. Check, complete runaway feedback created by the reverb. Engage the device. It just immediately lets the regeneration drift away. And now you have vocal and reverb. And we were on this conversation in the room, I think with Melan. Think about this, Melan. For the first time, maybe ever, I won't even say maybe, for the first time ever, you could have this vocal existing in a wedge with reverb in the wedge with no fear of it feeding back. Right? Think about that for a second. Kind of mind-blowing, right? So that's when we were off to the races. I was like, okay, well, I got to do some more testing here and see what's going on here. So I created another little test here, and we were going to test. I wanted to examine what was happening in D feedback compared to what's happening with something like an expander. Now, I didn't have a 5045 here, but this is an expander set up very, very similarly on the console. This would react very similar to the 5045. I'm going to do some testing on 5045 coming forward. I've got a couple of other pieces of gear out there to test. But let me kind of walk you through what's going on here. This was done with pink noise, right? So pink noise coming out of the same speaker system. This is the pink noise bleed into just the microphone. This is that same microphone with 5045 on it, already engaged, by the way. This is the same microphone duplicated into a channel, etc., with D feedback on it. Now you can see that the expander that I have on there is closed down. There's 9 dB of suppression of it here. Here's D feedback showing its ability to cancel noise in the background. Remember, this is not reverb anymore. This is pure noise. And this is me saying check, right? So as I say check here, you can see no change in signal to noise ratio here on the dry channel, right? This noise is going to exist in that microphone regardless of how loud I say check, it is going to be there. But in the expander version, right, we see the expander open up. And now, of course, as we would expect, the expander is open and we have the same signal to noise ratio as we would have when there's no 5045 or no expander on it, right? That's one of the kind of hidden things with that people that are kind of new to it don't really get with expansion, is that that noise is always there. We're just turning it off when the vocal is not there. When the vocal is on, the same signal to noise problem exists. But look at what happens with defeedback here. And this is really a critical difference here. This is kind of the amazing part of it. The signal to noise remains constant, regardless of whether the vocal is there or not. And here's a really important point to understand about this. And I'm going to start changing how I do things going forward from this day forward that I've found this, is that even if I was like, I'm always archive recording, right? So there's always going to be a vocal, a lead vocal per se, that is recorded with this initial signal to noise ratio. The post guys are going to have to deal with this. And even if they go in and edit out this noise with some sort of, fade in, fade out, that noise, that signal to noise ratio is still going to exist on the recording, right? It's just going to be there. It's going to be part of this signal when they record. With defeedback in place, that is not the case. That noise was gone before that vocal opened up, right? So really important distinction there. So going forward now, I'm always going to have a vocal that is recorded with defeedback and a vocal that is recorded without, so the guys in post can make a decision of which one they want to use. And I can tell you, I think I know which one they're going to end up using a lot of time, because it's going to save them a ton of work going forward, right? So you can kind of see it here. As the expander opens up, it's open when the vocal is happening, and then we get a hold time and a release time back down. And in defeedback, it's just gone there the whole time. It's just really an amazing thing to witness. Okay, so that was kind of noise reduction testing. I was kind of just seeing, okay, well, is that actually working on noise? I mean, I know it was designed to get rid of the IR, like we talked about in the previous slide, and deal with feedback, but how is it going to do on background noise? I mean, if we get a reduction on background noise into a vocal now, wow, I mean, now you're talking about golden goose time, right? So let's take a look at the next slide. I thought, okay, well, let's add some real noise to it. Let's make this a little more real. And again, remember, this is a big PA and the vocal. So I decided to put together a music mix, something like drums, bass, guitar, keys, everything, and have it blaring in the room while I say the word check. All right. So here's the background noise. You can see it's kind of equal in all three microphones. Here is me saying check. Here's me saying check into the expander and check into defeedback, the defeedback channel. Everything is disengaged right now. No processing, and you can see they're all equal. Once we get out to this point, I engage the process, meaning I engage the expander and I engage the defeedback, and look at the difference in the noise level in it. It's breathtaking when you hear it. I'll be transparent here and say, okay, it may even look like the purple is a little bit louder than the green here in the expander, but it's actually because I accidentally bumped this fader up. So it actually printed louder than the green one. So this in actuality is probably less than what is in the expander at that point. And expander close here is actually 12 dB of cut. So, and the same thing you notice here, as I say check now with the process engaged, I see the signal to noise come up when it is open. I have the same dynamic range in the unprocessed as the processed for the expander, but look at the additional signal to noise in defeedback that is happening there. So, it's just an amazing realization when you have it happen. I fully admit I didn't do any of this testing before I took to using it at Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and at these Fito Paez shows that I did after Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I took it there. I kind of did some really easy testing on it because I was really short on time before I left for those shows. And I went to the shows with the mindset of, okay, I'm just going to use this as an absolute emergency insert, kind of a 911 insert in case things are really getting out of hand. And I knew that I had a couple of artists at Rock Hall this year that were going to be really challenging to do, especially in terms of signal to noise, not necessarily gain before feedback, but certainly signal to noise. And one of those was Cyndi Lauper. I've been around Cyndi a number of times in my career, and I mean, just an incredible artist, but she's very inconsistent with her mic position. A lot of times she'll have a microphone very far away, and it's hard. It can be hard to get her up above a loud band. Now, I wasn't as worried about it as much with Cindy's band. I thought that's going to be good. I'll be fine there. But I also knew that Cyndi was going to sit in at the finale with Tedeschi trucks. which is, I mean, so busy and pretty loud on stage. I mean, it's two drummers, guitar players, bass, keyboards, percussion, all of it. And then on top of it, she was going to have to hang with four or five other really strong singers there. And I just remember thinking, ooh, boy, that is going to be tough to handle. So I tested it out, believe it or not, on Elton John first, because Elton's got very, very loud monitors. And, you know, it can almost sound like chorusing in his mic. His monitors are so loud. But it was on a very gentle piece of music. They were doing a Brian Wilson tribute. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try it on there and just put it on there, see how it feels. If it doesn't feel good, I'll take it off. Put it on there. And it just instantly brought the vocal forward and cleaned it up. And I thought, okay, all right, we're on to something here. So I went ahead and used it for the performance for Elton, and it just came out great. And then Cindy came around and we did the run throughs the night before with the Tedeschi trucks thing. And I swear to you, as I'm standing here or sitting here, I was having trouble getting my head around what was actually happening right now. Like I had Susan Tedeschi, all of these other just super powerful singers, you know, and had to get Cindy to hang in with this. And it was like there was no end to the fader. It's like, how far do you want to push it up? It was just more and more vocal. Here it came. And I was able to get those things to really hang together and make this really just incredible moment in the performance that I absolutely would not have been able to do without this device. So that was the end of it for me. I just went, I mean, I've said it. I'm on record as saying it. I don't mind saying it again. I will never go to another show without this in my toolbox. Never. So thoughts, ladies, on what's happening there? I mean, it's just so cool. I can't describe it. I mean, let alone that it's not really optimized for this work. You know, I mean, that's the amazing part of it. You know, Devin had it optimized for, you know, lavaliers, lectern mics in churches. I mean, I can't even imagine what a next version of this is going to be like, where the optimization shifts up to a, you know, a handheld vocal kind of thing. It'll be transformative, folks. It's going to change our industry here. You watch. Sorry, didn't mean to step on somebody. Somebody tried to get in with a question there. Was that you, Milan?
Or me.
Here, I'll get out
I
of
think
this.
Sophie was first.
How much are you selling this for?
See, Devin, I told you.
For you, I'll make a special deal. No, if you can go on the website, it's a perpetual license is $500, $499. Sometimes we run sales. So you buy it once, you can keep version 1 forever. And I just didn't want to deal with subscriptions, and I know people hate that. And so, it's just you buy it once, and then the hardware is you don't have to buy our hardware, but I highly recommend it because it's pretty economical. I mean, it's a very low cost way to get into a couple channels of defeedback and have the peace of mind that it's just going to work. You can download the plugin and try to run it on your own computer, but we'll see.
I don't recommend it. Everybody I talk to on the web, I question them constantly. It's like, why don't you just use what he's tested and qualified, right? And you won't have any feedback at your show anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, there's other units like the Waves Livebox. I don't like have some official deal with Waves or something, but I do promote that unit because I just want people to have a good experience using it. And right now, that unit does run our plugin pretty well. There's probably going to be other units out there that also do it. We're working on some things with other people, but yeah, that's the best thing to do. Like, for example, one channel, so it's a $500 license. You can get the $450 computer with a $100 Focusrite interface, and there you go. You've got one very reliable channel of defeedback. It's an analog insert, line level analog insert, and it's 5 milliseconds. Which is not bad.
Actually, we should talk about the latency as well. I kind of did some measurements latency wise as well, if you guys are interested in this, because, like Devin was saying, one of the ways, the easy way to use it is just to get the Nook, the little computer, and attach it to a very simple Focusrite interface, and either use that as an insert or, even use it at the top of your chain if you want to do it in, a quick environment. But let's see if I can get here. But the latency, you do want to be concerned with that. The process itself is zero latency, but the I/O that you use is going to add latency to it, especially in the digital console environment. So this is a kind of a way that I measured it at my place, running, again, kind of pink noise into similar inputs. I had a dry input strip that had no processing on it, one that had D feedback, one that had an analog insert, just like an equalizer or whatever, where you just go through a standard set of A to D conversion and back to your console, and then an input strip with a plug-in insert on it. And I don't even remember what the plug-in was, but it was just to initiate some time, right? And measured all this with SMART. So this is what we came up with. All of these inputs were bused to the left-right bus, and as you can see, they all arrive at kind of different times based on the latency of the process. Now, the important thing,
Robert, are you sharing your screen? I don't see.
Oh, you're not seeing that? Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I didn't hit the share button here. Sorry. There we go.
There you go.
Let me back up one, and I'll give you this again. So that was the layout. Sorry, I missed the button there. So like I said, pink noise into identical input strips with different types of inserts on them. So a D feedback insert, an analog insert, and a plug-in insert, right? So once we get there, then once we look at that in SMART directly to a left-right bus, you can see that they all impart different delay times, different path lengths, if you will, to the output. So obviously the fastest one is just the dry input. This is a plug-in insert. This is an analog insert, which of course we would have to go D to A and then A to D back to the console to get that analog insert in there. But given that D feedback works on another computer and another interface, it's a dual conversion there if we want to use it as an insert, right? We would go D to A out of the console, A to D in the Focusrite, D to A from the Focusrite, A to D back in the console. And so you get another round trip of latency there. Now, my goal in doing this was to honestly examine how much latency was being imparted, but also to try to make sure I understood what was happening here in terms of putting together a compensation scheme, whether I'm going to do it with automatic delay compensation or manual compensation. Obviously, on the console I'm working on, which is S6L, you can automatically delay compensate input inserts. So once I hit the ADC button, all of those inputs align with the exception of the D feedback input, right? But it gets closer. So if you were really set on having all your inputs leave the console at the same time, you would need to make a manual adjustments here. You would have to create a path for these inputs that is longer than this path to get it to catch up, right? Now, full transparency here. I did not do this at Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just rolled with the extra, I think it was probably about 3 milliseconds of delay. Now, do I endorse that? I do not. I would much rather have these things in alignment coming out of the console. But that said, the gain of having that fader be so in control was well worth the 3 millisecond penalty to get it through the console. So, don't overthink it. Don't let this deter you from using it. But again, trying to be good audio soldier here. If you're in the position where you have the ability to realign those inputs to all exit the console at the same time, you absolutely want to do it. But you need to know that extra latency is there with that approach. And that'll be there regardless of whether you use it in Livebox or any of these other places. I'm got the Livebox here testing both Maddie and Dante, and they are going to import some latency as well. You just need to account for it, right? You just need to know it's there and do the proper accounting for it. Okay, so with that, bring on the questions about that. If you want, I can even leave this up if we want to talk about it.
Don't suppose you have any audio examples for us?
I don't where I'm sitting right now. The cool thing is that all of this is actually recorded. And if I was set up to do it here, like if I was out of my lab right now and we were set up to bring audio back into the Zoom, I could play this for you one at a time and you could hear it. So I'll bait the hook here a little bit and say that I will definitely be doing that at one of my own labs coming up. So, I mean, it sounds like shameless self-promotion, but, stay attached to my socials, either in Facebook or on Instagram. And once I make an announcement of that lab, come in and I'll have this and way more in terms of demonstrations to show you. Okay, does that sound fair?
Sure.
Sure. Why don't you have it today? I know.
If you do want a quick, like a really easy, quick example, if you just go watch the YouTube that's on the video that's on the website itself, dfeedback.ai, the landing video has a really quick example of it working, and so that's like a very short, quick example.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's some great video on Devin's website of him doing this kind of stuff. I think they're so good that people have accused him of faking him. Is that
People
correct?
do. They say you faked that. That's
No.
snake oil, you know? I mean, I literally just set it up in the shop and took the video.
Yeah, so check him out. And, he's got some other great videos and other great products in there too. So, make sure and check out is it Alpha Labs or Alpha Sound? I always get confused.
I could not have made it more confusing, I think. So what it is that Alpha Sound is the legacy family business, and that's the Facebook and Instagram pages that I happen to grow, like, and get some. I did a bunch of, hand waving on the internet, try to get some attention, and basically that's just like what happened. Those pages grew, YouTube as well. It's all Alpha Sound. So Alpha Labs is the company that we started just to manage this sort of crazy software endeavor. And it is, technically separate. And that's so basically I've been kind of riding on the coattails of the Alpha Sound internet legacy to try to promote the Alpha Labs defeedback software. Yes. Anyway, did someone else? I think someone else maybe had a question from earlier. I don't remember who, but
Heather, nice to see you. Welcome
I
in.
was just fanning, being a fan.
oh,
Were you?
okay. Hi, Heather.
Robert and I
Thanks
go
for
way
dropping by.
back
That's great.
from a
Yes,
company
we
called
do.
DigiDesign Days.
Yeah.
DigiDesign. I feel like I've heard of that before.
Oh, where was it? Heard of that somewhere. Yes.
So nice to see everyone on behalf of Sound Girls, and thank you guys for supporting.
Yes, our pleasure. I've said this to Carrie before, et cetera. Anytime you need us, I mean, I'll speak for me anyway. I'm available for Sound Girls. I love what was going on there and fully
I,
endorse
I didn't mean
everything
to
that's
cut
happening.
off questions and take us to a more chatty space.
That's all right. We're casual here. This wasn't meant to be a big formal presentation. We were just trying to create conversation. So,
I just did 2 hours on negotiating touring agreements.
oh my gosh.
Hit me up if I can help on that one. Yeah. Independent contractors versus employees,
Yeah.
Wow.
blah, blah, blah. Anyway,
Sounds like I need to call you.
I've,
I always need advice on that part of it.
if you're an A-lister front of house like Robert, you can negotiate. Otherwise, it's hard. But anyway, I don't want to derail, but
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for stopping by, for sure. Well, I mean, that's kind of the end of what I've got to present. So, unless there's other questions or Devin, you want to wrap this up, we can probably just wrap it up here and carry on. But if there's more questions, bring it on. We're here. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Any questions whatsoever? How to use it, how it works.
how long did it take you to develop it, you said?
Well, so we started development basically January 1st of 2024. And because I was on vacation in Bali trying to have a New Year's, and I got a message on social media. Someone was like, "Hey, me and my friend are probably interested in helping you out with this," and I just YOLO'd it. I was like, "Okay, tomorrow, January 1st, I'll just start making bank transfers to you guys. Let's just start. Let's just do this." I don't know what this is. I don't even know. I don't know you, but let's just do it. Looking back, it was kind of crazy. By that summer, we had a working prototype. We kind of had we had like a big breakthrough in about April. It was 3 months of just, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then, we had our big breakthrough in April. By that summer, I was using it for my own shows because I was like, I'm not going to put this out there unless I would feel comfortable using it. So I used it through all the summer series of shows that I have just locally, and then put it in my first install in August at a church. And just like every single day, I would wake up and check my phone first thing, like sideways in bed, like hopefully the priest isn't texting me that it broke. And And then but yeah, by November we launched November 11th of 2024. So, yes, that was and then of course, I mean, it's even improved since like we've developed so much on it since even then. A lot of the development hasn't been the core part of the algorithm though. A lot of it's just like dumb stuff. Like the deactivation sequence of the, license management page doesn't work quite right, or there's some goofy situation where sometimes like, it doesn't show up in the DAW, or just stuff like this. You spend a lot of time. It's amazing how much that sort of dumb stuff actually takes up time
Yeah.
uh, to get right. Yeah. So basically a year of development.
Well, I promise you all next year when we come back to the conference again, hopefully we get invited back. We'll have some audio demonstration for you. We'll figure out a way to do that across a Zoom room. So
Yeah, and
figure out some
V2
way
is
to
going
do
to
it.
be, I mean, V2 is in the works. Hopefully we're going to launch it here in the next couple months, but it's going to be amazing. But like I tell people, look, I mean, V1 is great, and you could just use it forever. I mean, even if you just had V1, and that's still very, very cool. I don't want to give people like false expectations about it. It doesn't, like, you can still defeat it and have it go into feedback if you push the gain high enough. That's, it doesn't just have infinite gain, but it'll easily get you 6 dB out of the gate. Some people, depending on your situation, are reporting 10 or even 12 dB of more usable gain. Um, you know, so it's situation dependent, but yeah.
Mixing with it is like you're driving really, really fast already, and you're having the urge to step on the accelerator and go even faster. And you watch the speedometer climb up as you go farther and farther up with the fader, and you just think, how can this be happening right now? My car's not supposed to go this fast, that kind of thing. I mean, you just don't, your brain just doesn't believe what's happening right now. It's really amazing.
Yeah, and V2 we're going to concentrate on not just so V1 is really great at doing the de-reverb. It's very good at doing de-feedback. It's pretty good at doing denoise. It kind of has the side effect of helping with echo, but that's not its main like concentration. Even the noise part of it is not something we like advertised in the beginning. It just sort of we threw it in there because it helps with the general process in the background. But then people started telling us they think it does a better job than products like DNS8. And I'm like, whoa, okay, maybe we should concentrate more on that in V2. So V2 is going to have
Yes, please.
very, oh, it's going to be, it's V2 is going to have very, very aggressive denoise and more aggressive de-echo. Although I believe the full-fledged de-echo will probably be something that will be a V3 feature, and hopefully by V3 we're also targeting, obviously, like a lot of people ask, can you eliminate snare drum or drums themselves or a guitar, from the vocal? Yes, we just need more development money and more time.
Yeah, but
All
I,
these
I
things
would
are,
tell you, I mean, is it an admirable goal to eliminate it from the source? Okay, sure. It already does such a good job of that your life just gets instantly easier with it. I mean, I worked
yeah.
for an artist for 25 years, working for Tom Petty, where that was the challenge. Period. End of story. Was how do I manage noise into that guy's vocal mic because he was a quiet singer. How do I get that signal to noise ratio to drop down and get usable? It was that was the challenge my entire tenure there was getting that under control. I would have given anything to have this device then. Anything.
And like I think Madeline, you asked about the QSys integration for installs. You know, that's so people are trying very interesting things, and we've not like remotely looked at that. People have asked about it. That goes, here's the thing, that goes into a bin of like all these cool things we could do with more funding. That's basically how that works. Like we're a small startup. We had, however much money I could put on a credit card and float. And so we're at a point here where, we've done like as much as we can do with the available funds. Sales are going well enough to where we can, pay the bills, keep the doors open, pay the coders to keep working. And Yeah, we either, basically just we need like an investor, or we need to figure out how to 100x sales, and you know, then we'll have the money. We can do so much stuff. I just tell people we have the coders, we have the AI, and we just need time and money, and we can do everything that people want.
I
So
see Heather chomping at the bit over there. I see you raising your hand, lady.
This is what I do, Devin. So if I can help, and Robert has endorsed you as legit, I just did the
well,
exits for Manly and Apogee and found investors for companies. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean it's I you know it
let's
really is it
Robert, you
really
and I will talk how we can help Devin and see if any of these ideas are good ones.
Yeah, well, I think we probably should talk as a group for sure, at some point. I mean, whatever makes sense here. Because I mean, I'm passionate about it. I think this is transformative for live sound. I just think this is going to change the whole game. So,
So let's anyway, I want others to ask questions, but Devin, let's connect after with Robert and I can tell you what I do to help companies like yours.
yeah, that'd be a very cool conversation.
all right.
Is
Well,
this the end of the
ladies,
conference,
I
guys?
think it might be. I know they tagged us on the end here because we actually signed up so late to this thing. So yeah, this might be the very end. So. All right. Well, I'm going to pull the plug on us here then, unless anybody has any more questions.
Comment?
So, yeah,
Love
of
the hat.
course. Yeah.
Love the hat.
Thank you. Yes. Me and Mr. Gamble go back a long, long way. I was a very, very happy Gamble user for many, many years. So, yes, it was nice to.
I've had the fortune just a couple times to be on one of his consoles, and they were delightful,
It's
lovely.
magic, isn't it? Yeah. So good.
Yeah, they were so nice. And
Thank you.
Devin, are you by any chance related to Dwayne?
Yes, he is my father.
Your father?
Yes,
Okay.
Dwayne Sheets.
Yeah, I knew Dwayne Sheets.
Dwayne owns Alpha Sound, and he's been in the business for many decades. So it's been great. I mean, I feel very, very blessed to have grown up, with, I mean, our warehouse is filled with, Yamaha, Nexo, DPA. Like I've been very, very fortunate to have grown up around that stuff. And so, the feedback has been one of those things where I don't know, just having the ability to just test it and work with really, really high-end PA systems. I don't take that for granted. That's been a real, real blessing.
You bet. You bet.
Cool. Well, hopefully I will someday come across one.
Yeah,
Yes, we
download
hope
the
that too.
trial.
Yeah, download the trial. Go and get after it. All right, gang, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for coming. And again, thanks to Sound Girls for allowing us to do this. I'm a big supporter and believer in Sound Girls. I hope they carry on for as long as I'm alive. So thank you very much for coming in. I wish you all the best of luck out in the industry. It's a tough business, but you are going to make it fine, I'm sure. And we'll see you hopefully at next year's conference. I can't wait to come back. So
And hopefully
thanks.
see some of you at NAM, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, we'll certainly be at NAM. I know, Devin, you're going to be at NAM, right?
I will. I will be at NAM.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll
We'll be
see you
making
there.
an announcement about that soon.
Great. If you want to stop by and see me, I'll be at the EAW booth. Short of that, I'll probably be at some panel sessions and some other things. So feel free to track me down if you like. Thank you guys. We really appreciate it. Bye bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.